Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Acknowledge to Action podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Benko. Today's episode is one that hits on resilience, purpose, and the power of faith in the face of life-altering adversity. I'm joined by fellow Air Force veteran, Kijuan Amey, a man whose journey took him from serving as a KC-135 boom operator to building his own business to surviving a motorcycle accident that completely changed his life, including the loss of his eyesight. But here's the powerful part. Kijuan didn't let that moment define his future. Instead, he found a new mission, sharing his story to inspire others to keep pushing forward no matter the obstacle. We talk about his military journey, the importance of reliability and high-stakes aviation roles, and how a strong family legacy shaped his path into service. And then we dive deep into his personal transformation, how he turned tragedy into triumph, and how faith, purpose, and community became his guiding lights. Kijuan is also the author of the incredible memoir and book, Don't Focus on Why Me, From Motorcycle Accident to Miracle, where he invites readers to see the world through what he calls his darkened eyes that have been made to see clearly. So whether you're working toward your next goal, seeking a fresh perspective, or just need a reminder of what resilience and purpose can be, this conversation is for you. Welcome to the Acknowledge to Action podcast. I am here with Kijuan Amey. I'm really excited to have our conversation. It's been a little over a month since my last recording, so I'm really looking forward to get back on that horse and really start have this amazing conversation. Kijuan and I connected a couple weeks ago on LinkedIn. We had a really good conversation, and I know it's going to be another great conversation today. And it's really what's really cool here today is we're both fellow Air Force veterans, and on top of that, we're career enlisted aviators, which I think we're going to talk a little bit about today. So, Kijuan, thank you so much for being here. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation with you.
Yeah, Matthew, I appreciate you having me, man, and allowing me to come on and tell my story on your platform.
Well, you have a very powerful story. When we talked a couple weeks ago, I've been thinking about it and processing it ever since. So we're going to pull back some of the layers of that today. But before we get into it, I want to just talk about our Air Force experience real quick, if that's good with you, if you're cool with that.
Yeah, that works. Yeah.
All right. So I was thinking about this, right? So we have career enlisted aviators, right? What does that mean? I think we have some of the most coolest, most unique names. I'll say it in all of the military, let alone the Air Force. So me, C-130 Loadmaster, right?
Mm-hmm.
Boom operator.
Yeah.
Both. Like, what does that even mean? What is it? What is a Loadmaster? What is a boom operator? It sounds like something off of Marvel comic book, right? But in all seriousness, talk a little bit about your Air Force experience. Share that. We can get into that, and then we're going to your book and all that.
Yeah, man, it's amazing. I definitely enjoyed my time in the military. I was a KC-135 boom operator. So to me, the bread and butter of the tankers, the Strato tanker was the bread and butter of all of them to me. I'll put that sucker up against any of them.
Yeah.
Even the KBs, I'll put it up against those.
Okay.
So, and those came before the 135. They made bombers into tankers, and that didn't work. So, and even now, the KC-46, the brand new plane, I'm taking the KC-135 all day. I'm telling you, man, it's just what I call it is they put too much technology into the plane, and they forgot to make it fly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so just like you understand the Herc, I mean, the freaking C-130, that thing can fly all day long.
Oh yeah, it's a beast.
Man, it's so many things that thing can take and keep on trucking. That's what I want. I don't want my plane to fall apart because just the slightest screw fell off. I don't want a Boeing situation where the door blows off.
Yeah.
And I can't fly anymore. I mean, granted, the KC-135 is a Boeing. It's a 707 body frame, but it was built like a tank, man. And so I want some reliability. I want durability, and I want just longevity because that plane is approaching 70 years here, man.
Wow.
The 135, and it's been nothing short of amazing to me. I call it my dinosaur. And well, man, so granted, you guys have heard us say the words boom operator, load master, cool. What does that mean though? Because for people who don't know what that means, you're still clueless right now.
Yeah.
So what a boom operator does, or in-flight refueling specialist, what they do is I refueled planes in midair.
Yeah.
And so I have to say this because when I went through basic training, there was a guy in my flight. He was like, "Oh man, I heard you were gonna be refueling planes." I said, "Yeah, I am actually." He said, "Me too." He said, "What base are you going to?" I said, "Seymour Johnson." He said, "So am I." I said, "Oh snap! So you're gonna be a boom operator at Seymour Johnson?" He said, "A what?" I
Yeah.
said, "Didn't you say you were gonna be refueling planes?" He said, "Yeah." I said, uh, "You're going to be a boom operator at Seymour Johnson." Cool, right? He's like, "I don't know what a boom operator is." And I said, "Where are you going to be refueling these planes at?"
Yeah.
He said, "On the ground. What are you talking about?" I said, "Oh, no, we're not the same. You're fuels. I'm a refueling specialist."
Yeah. Yeah.
And we thought we were going to be doing the same thing. We were going to be at the same base, but we were not going to be doing the same thing. It
Oh,
was so
completely
funny.
different. Yeah, like feels like even in the Air Force there's a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
Let
man.
alone the bigger, picture.
Man, it was so hilarious because I was just like blown away that there was that slight disconnect. We both thought we were doing the same thing at the same base, and I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy! They would put us in the same flight." Maybe it's because it's just such a small career field. I don't know. And then next thing I know, I'm like, "Dude, we're not even doing the same job. I won't even see you."
Wow, they say the military's a small world, big, but because ground fuels, it can go to any base. I mean,
Yep.
whereas your bases were very limited, I imagine. I
Exactly.
mean, I don't know how many bases there were in the KC-135 world, but
Yeah.
a handful, right? At
Yes.
best, 2, 3, maybe,
It's
right?
well, man, you got more than two or three. There were quite a bit of them, so there were over 700 tankers. So they had to put them somewhere.
Wow. Oh my
It just
gosh.
didn't seem like that. It
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
seem like it was
Just
that many of them.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot of them. Yeah. So it's, the U.S. bases you got that's so you have a lot of reserve bases. March, which is in California. You had Spokane, Fairchild. You had Grand Forks used to be one, but they got rid of that one. It just moved somewhere else. So you got McConnell, Altus, Jesus. You
Oh,
got
okay. So it was more than I kind of
yeah. You got
in my
Niagara
what I
Falls. Like
assumed.
you got so many different because you have guard, reserve, and active duty bases. So that's what makes them kind of hide when you got the reserve and the guard because you don't really know where they are. They're
Yeah,
just kind of in their own little. Sometimes they're at airports, and sometimes they're at an actual base.
yeah.
They're flying out of airports. Some of these places, like when we went to the Pittsburgh Guard, those guys are using the Pittsburgh Guard or the Pittsburgh Airport.
Yeah, that's a good
You know
point.
what I mean? So it's like some of those bases are connected to airports. So they're actually C-130s here in North Carolina, not at it used to be Pope, but
Yeah,
they closed that out and they were at the guard
Charlotte.
unit in Charlotte,
Yeah, in Charlotte. Yeah, yeah, that it's
right there at the airport.
yep,
And so I was like, I came across we landed the 135 there because we were going to the guard unit
yep.
out of Charlotte, and we landed and I'm looking across the apron and I'm like, what are these C-130s doing here? And he was like, "Oh, they got a guard unit here." I said, "Oh, that's cool."
It's amazing. I'm a guard. That's most of my career in the military has been in the guard. Especially as a career enlisted aviator. But
Yeah.
it's you don't realize how much of a collaborative and how many times we're working close together. We're still Air Force is Air Force, right? And then
Yeah.
there's
Oh yeah.
active duty, guard, reserves, right? at the end of the day, we're all working together and making it happen. But what's cool about what we did, and I want to ask you this first. Did you know what you were getting yourself? How old were you when you went into the Air Force and you started, with the basic and then went on to get your boom operator training?
I talked to the recruiter at the age of 18, and I was actually went to basic training at 19.
So you were, in my opinion, young, especially for the aviation world, right?
Absolutely.
And
it's a lot of responsibility at that age.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, we could be here for a while talking about all that goes into it. But that you went in with, hey, I should ask you. So you went in, hey, I'm going to the Air Force, and tell us about how you learned about that and how you ended up getting into the career enlisted aviator boom operator field.
Well, first off, my family is military. I have a lot of military background, but we're Navy mostly. So I have a lot of Navy family, like aunt and uncle. They met in the Navy. They actually got married while they were in the Navy. And then had a cousin. He was Navy. He retired like 24 years or so. And he went back and did the contractor thing, and man, he was making a whole lot of money doing that. And then my cousin, who my aunt and uncle met and got married, their firstborn, he went Navy, and then he got out, and now he's Coast Guard. He's like a E7, E8, something like that now. And my sister, she was Navy. My stepdad, he was Navy. It was just a lot of people Navy. And then I had one great uncle I never met. He was Army. I had a cousin who was Marine, and then my youngest brother now is serving as the Air Force. So I was first Air Force, and then my youngest brother, he's now Air Force.
You got a really strong military family.
Exactly.
A lot of influence with that.
Yeah. So when I went to talk to the recruiter, this was not you're gonna dupe me. No. I got some firepower with me.
You went in prepared. Okay.
Yeah, I went in with an actual a head on my shoulder. I mean, granted, it's still a young head, but it was a don't let them pick your job. You pick your job.
Oh, all right.
You know what I mean? So, and the other thing was I was not. I guess you said I was very smart. Put it that way. I was very smart coming out of high school. Yeah. I was not a dumb kid by any means. Yes, I played sports, but I wasn't just a jockey. Okay.
Yeah.
I was a smart jock. And so, it was one of those things where, when I walked into the recruiter's office, he taught me all this cool stuff, funkiness. Now my mind is wrapped around the Navy at this point because that's all I've been talked about and been told to me. Because again, I was the first to go to the Air Force in my family.
Okay.
So all I've been getting fed is Navy, Navy, Navy. And so I'm learning about all this stuff, but then my mind is just like, I don't know if I want to see that much water.
Yeah.
I was like, I really don't want to see that much water.
Yeah.
I didn't care to look at it when we were flying over the water in the Air Force, to be honest. I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't want to look at it.
There's a lot of water out there, especially when you're in the middle of the Atlantic or the Pacific.
Man. So, anywho, I was talking to the recruiter, and they let me take the little practice test in their office, and I scored like a 48. And in the Air Force, you needed a 50 just to get in. This was at that time back in 2010. Now that's dropped, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh no, I wasn't aware of that.
They lowered it. So anyway, when he saw that, he was like, "Holy crap!" And I'm like, "Is that good?" Because I think it's terrible. I'm like I told you, I did great in school, so a 48 to me is terrible.
Yeah.
That's failing to me. He's like, "Dude, I need you to study for like 2 weeks." And he hands me a disc, and I need you to study hard 2 weeks every day. I mean, I don't care how much time you spend on it. I just need you to study because I'm going to have you go take that test. I said, okay. And so I was like, you still haven't answered my question. Was that good or bad? He was like, no, that's good. He said, because some people, when they come in here, they're scoring in like the teens.
Oh, so they didn't even qualify for any service.
Exactly.
Yeah, I see.
And so He was like, you have way more potential than they do right now. And I said, okay, now you're giving me hope. And so went home, studied hard, man. I went and took that test at MEPS and scored like an 87. And he called me, I mean, ranting and raving. He's like, dude, when can you come in? I said, what you doing tomorrow?
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything. He said, I'll be here. I said, okay, cool. So I come in. He has like a stack of papers stapled together. It's like 8 pages front and back lists of jobs. And he, some that were highlighted and a whole lot of them that weren't.
Yeah.
It was like, everything that's not highlighted, don't even look at it. I'm telling you, don't you do it. You do not want them.
Yeah.
And so I'm like looking at stuff. Loadmaster popped up. I was like, oh, yeah, I heard about that one. That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, I definitely don't want to be an aerial gunner. No.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was doing. And so I saw in-flight refueling, and he was like, oh, do you know what that is? I was like, nah, I have no clue. Not even a little bit.
Yeah.
And he turned around and showed it to me on that computer. And I said, okay, here we go. You're selling me one of those dreams, right? And he was like, what do you mean? I said, that can't be real. That looks like a video game. And he's like, no, that's real. I said, how did they get that footage? He's like, it's probably a fighter.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that until, you finally get in the job and you see them take people up in the fighter and they're recording.
Oh, to get the mark, to get that best aerial footage.
So anyway, I was like, dude, this is freaking crazy, man. This is awesome. And he was like, and at the time, so first off, the job looked amazing. The other thing that got me, it at the time, it was 2010, it had a $90,000 re-enlistment bonus. What? Now, you know what that means. You have to re-enlist in order to get it. So, not your first contract, but your next the initial one.
Yeah.
And it can be taken away at any moment.
Yeah.
So, guess what happened? You already know. I think after my first deployment, which was 2012, so I had to go through all my schooling and stuff. But 2012, which is
probably about a year, right? Like it was one of the longer schools. I mean, it's similar to Loadmaster.
So I went to basic training February 22nd, 2011. I got to Seymour Johnson April 1st, 2012.
Okay, yeah. So it averages 12 to 14 months.
Yeah,
and it's just one of the longer. Because of all the schools you go through and all that.
Man, listen, all that stuff I had to take off. Hey, take all the time y'all need because this is too fast.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. So when you first look at it, on paper, you're like, dang, I'm going to be in school that long. But I'm telling you, you need every single day.
Yeah.
Because it's so serious.
Talking about taking tests, talking about your experience, because a lot of us are equipped to we have a decent baseline, right, as far as information. It's the application of that information to really do our best in the test. It's not so much what we know, it's how we apply it. And you took that time to study and you got the scores you needed on your ASVAB. But I imagine, just from my own experience, I learned how to take tests in the Air Force and how to apply yourself so you could be your best and demonstrate that because trust me, I know all the tests, whether it's aircrew fundamentals all the way up to your specialties. Like there's no joke. No, 85 when I went through, it was like 85% or better, or was it 80 or
it's 85.
It's still 85, and there's no waiver. They say there's a waiver for everything in the military, not when it comes to test
not aircrew.
not aircrew. Nope, not when it comes to your initial baseline training and all that. So
yeah, man, that was actually how I got Seymour Johnson too. It was because I scored so high on all my tests going through school. Because the dream sheet.
Yeah, you got the pick, right? You get your
in active duty, you get the dream sheet. So
yep.
My first base was Seymour Johnson because that's home basically, and then the next one I picked was Hickam, which they shortly closed due to active duty not too long after I got in.
For your AFSC for boom operator.
Well, for active duty.
I got you.
They still had the guard unit out there for a little bit.
Yeah,
but
they closed it. I think.
Yeah, they closed it to active duty, and so I picked Hickam. I think I picked Travis, and then I picked McDill. Thankfully, I didn't get Travis. I didn't realize how. All I saw was California. I just didn't know where in California. I was so glad I didn't get that.
Yeah,
because I went there once on active duty, and I was like, "Oh my God, there's nothing around here."
Yeah, it's out on the outskirts there.
Dude, you got to drive 4 hours to get to a good city.
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I actually got my first choice, which was Seymour. And everybody's like, wait, you went and joined the military just to come back to North Carolina? I said, you don't know my job.
Yeah, It's like,
I'm going to be gone half the year.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, my first year of training, I was gone. I came back for like Christmas, I think it was, and that's it. Yeah, I came back for Christmas that year, and that's it. And then when I finally got to my duty station of Seymour Johnson, I got there April 1st of 2012. Well, June, that's I think second week in June, I'm going to the desert.
Yeah.
Already. It took me 2 months. They got me MCT, everything was trained, all my training was done, and I'm out the door.
How long were your rotations there?
Well, see, the flying hours thing. So June to August, if you went anything over that, man, you were just always going to be right there at your hour limit.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I got to August, and I'm in literally the desert in Qatar. So it's hot. I mean, 130 plus.
Oh yeah.
And
humid there. It's a little bit more humid there.
Gosh, man, listen. It's literally at night you can see around the the lights. You could see the humidity. Like you can actually see it. Visible moisture.
Yep.
And so and it's like 90 degrees. This is nighttime we're talking.
Oh, that radiant heat was no joke.
It was so bad. And so anyway, then that same year, 2012, I told you I came back in August from the first deployment. Well, October, I'm right back out the door.
Yeah.
I'm right back out the door from October to December, but this time I'm going to an island. I went to Curacao for the, counterintelligence on drugs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Refueling the AWACS.
What's the coolest aircraft that you got to refuel that you were like, hey, this is what it's all about. So, I mean, everyone the fighters always gets that's the shiniest toy in the room. But,
I mean, I'll be honest, the coolest I would have to say was that B2.
Really?
It's something different about that, man. That thing is huge.
Yeah. It looks like something like Bruce Wayne made it.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say, the way it's made is so weird compared to every other airplane.
It's like, how does this thing fly? It's just...
That right there.
Yep.
And then the receptacle on it. Oh my gosh. That sucker is huge.
Oh, so that's where the boom goes, right?
Yes.
You're saying, okay.
Yeah. Right. For you guys, not that much. It's not that big.
Yeah.
But for the B2, it's like in the middle of the aircraft. And it literally like goes down and flips up like a big old bathtub on the back of the plane.
Wow.
It's
okay.
Now imagine this. It's nighttime, pitch black. Only thing out there is the moon, you, and maybe the city below, okay? All you see, imagine one of those things pulling up behind you. Dude, it literally just moves into position and it cuts all the lights below you out. Because that's how big it is.
Yeah, it's just because of the sheer volume of it.
Yes. And then the receptacle, all you see is the receptacle lit up. And you're like, what the heck is this glowing light below? Ah!
I imagine, and I've never had this experience, but it's almost like swimming in the ocean and something epic just swimming up on you, like,
Yeah.
whoa, like
It makes it feel like a UFO, man.
interesting. Oh my
It's
gosh.
so crazy. So that will be the coolest. My favorite to refuel is the F-22.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right.
So the reason I say the Raptor, man, is because I don't know if it's the pilot. I don't know if it's the plane. Either way, when that sucker gets into pre-contact position, it does not move.
Really?
It does not move.
That F-22, there's something about I don't know the details of why the Air Force stopped making them, but it just there's something about the F-22. It's just, yeah, I get the F-35 is like the next generational fighter and all that stuff, and it's a joint service one. But that F-22, man, I seen it at air shows. Like you said, is it the aircraft or the pilot? A little bit of both. Who knows?
Yeah.
But man, what an experience! What a viewpoint for you to be at and see that.
Dude, listen, I could care less about that F-35.
Yeah.
That F-22 is where it's at.
Yeah.
And we support all of the fighters doing like their dog fights and stuff. And they go against each other. You know, it's the F-15 versus the F-16 versus the F-22 versus the F-35. Listen, that 22 wins every time.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it can see so far away. It's almost cheating.
Yeah. It's
Dude, it can shoot you from over 200 miles away. What are you going to do?
Yeah. They're like, what's that? Boom, over, lights out.
Man, listen, I've seen some videos where like, because they have those in Alaska, I'm pretty sure. And so, you know, when Russia was doing all that, sitting there, little bear, that's what they call those bombers they have. The bear across the Bering Strait, they're trying to fly over here to Alaska to scare us or whatever. And then the next thing they know is a F-22 on their wing. They didn't even see it coming.
Yeah, it was like
it's literally sitting on their wing.
Yeah. Like,
and it's like, hey, what are you doing here, buddy? You want to go back home? I think you should.
Hey, I'll show you the way. We can do this the easy way, or the not like, so.
Considering the fact that your bay is pretty empty, yeah, you should probably go home.
How about that,
dude? It's so crazy.
Man, we could go on and on about that. That. Thanks for sharing that. That's I knew we were gonna share some good. I knew you were gonna share some good experiences and all that. But I really want to make the most of your time. And you have, as we open up, you have an incredible story, and it's why we connected, and why we're going to share with the Acknowledge Action audience and all that. So, tell us about post Air Force. What happened? You experienced a life-changing accident. So I'll just leave it at that, and then you share how it was transformational and where you're at with everything, and how it put you where you're at today.
Yeah, man. So May 5th, 2017. So if you guys do the math, that's about what? I don't know. 6.5 years into my service, man. I have a motorcycle accident, a severe motorcycle accident, traumatic, very much so traumatic, that basically almost took me out of here, man. The fact that I'm even talking to you sitting up, I understand that I lost my eyesight in the accident, but the fact that I'm even sitting here and can form complete sentences, can think critically, can process information is actually baffling to a lot of doctors. Yeah. Because they literally thought I should have been a vegetable. Like, no joke, I'm not. First off, let me go back. They didn't think I should have made it out of there.
Okay.
So when they were doing all my surgery, they were like, okay, yeah, we'll do it, but y'all just stay around until that time comes.
Yeah.
That's what they're telling my family. So everybody and their mother is coming to see me at this point. I mean, everybody. Friends, family, co-workers, everybody. because they're telling everybody this is it. Like we're gonna do the surgeries, but I mean,
So
what do you want they're like, what do you want from us?
the accident was that severe, and
absolutely.
It put you in that position where, like, the likelihood of you surviving, let alone coming out of it, was slim to none.
Right. And so what happened was, I'm doing 55 miles an hour on a motorcycle, which was actually the speed limit. I wasn't speeding at all, honestly. And the car, which was a Honda Accord, pulled out in front of me from an intersection.
Okay.
So here I am, basically smack. It's not much you can do. I mean, yes, I took the motorcycle courses that I was supposed to take, because if you don't, the military is like, oh, well, we're gonna have to pay for that. They find ways to get out of stuff all the time.
Yeah.
I won't get into that. But anywho, when I am going through these courses, yeah, they tell you how to maneuver, do figure eights, do all these stopping on a dime things. But guess what? All of that is done at parking lot speed.
Yeah.
Not 55 miles an hour.
True.
And so if you think a motorcycle can stop like on a dime at 55 miles an hour, it can't. Unless you hit something. That's the only way you're going to stop on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
And if you lock up that front brake, you might as well have hit something, because you go flip.
Yeah.
And so I hit the car, lights out for me, literally lights out. I don't remember anything of it. The only thing I do know is what was told to me by witnesses that saw what happened, and the police report, and everything else that came about it. From all the different stories that were told to me. So at that intersection where the guy pulled out in front of me, there were two cars behind him that was going to be coming that same direction. Well, they put on the police report that they saw me coming, so they don't know why he didn't. So now I'm really mad. I'm really upset now, because that means you were distracted by something.
Mm-hmm.
Because you were number one.
Yeah.
How do two people behind you see me, but you don't? So that is one of those things that I did have to suffer. That, I suffered traumatic brain injury, PTSD, spinal cord injury, broke both of my legs, to include the strongest bone in your body, the femur.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually a compound fracture, not just broken. It came through the leg, man. And so,
wow, oh my gosh,
broke both of them. My right foot is now a different size than the left. So my left foot is still the size it was before the accident, which was a 10. My right foot is an 11 wide. So I now have to wear custom shoes in order for them to be comfortable.
Yeah.
And like I said, I already mentioned, the loss of eyesight, and I broke my jaw too, to include a lot of damaged teeth. So you're talking to $1 million man, basically.
Yeah.
And that's without the Air Force training.
Wow.
So I spent 2 months in the hospital. The first month was in a medically induced coma. So I don't know anything about it. It was just all the surgeries they had to do on me.
So for 2 months, you were completely in a coma, medically induced.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
When I woke up, it literally felt like I was just waking up at home. I didn't even know I was at a hospital.
Oh my gosh! Wow.
It was some good sleep.
Yeah. Wow, it's real interesting how the subconscious works, or when you're in that state of sleep, or I don't know what the medical term is, but how for you, it was like, oh, I'm just waking up after a night's rest, or
basically is what it felt like.
Wow.
I mean, I literally had no sense of time, none of that. And so I just thought I was waking up next day.
Yeah.
And I thought it was May 6th. Here it is, June the 6th.
did you have your speech when you got out? Like what were some
No.
of the like what when you got out of it, when you got out of the medically induced coma and you started getting aware, right? You started
Yeah.
waking up. What was that like? What happened?
I woke up without sight, so I didn't have the same thing. That I'm looking at you with, which is nothing basically. I had no eyesight. I could not talk because my mouth was wired shut due to my jaw being broken.
Wow.
I didn't have any smell. I didn't realize that yet because I was breathing just fine.
Yeah.
And nobody had asked me if I could smell anything yet, so I didn't realize that. What else? And I was just I was just bedridden. You know what I mean? Because I could not move. Really, to be honest, and it wasn't because I was strapped down or anything. I was just weak.
Yeah, from just being in a static position for so long.
Well, that plus literally being cut from head all the way to my right foot. I had cuts on me everywhere.
Wow.
And as soon as you get cut, you're not the same.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, as soon as you get cut, you are not the same. Your body is not the same anymore.
Wow. I mean, there's so much what we could peel back. Like, I'm curious what that was like for you emotionally and cognitively. And once you started getting more of an awareness, like how did you process that? You know, and I can only imagine that it was quite, and still, it might be still be ongoing, but I'm curious how that was and how that impacted you and how you were in the moment with that.
Very much so. It still impacts me today. It's
Yeah.
just one of those things that for 25 years I lived with eyesight, and I knew what that was like. We talked about the cool things I got to see with the military,
Yeah.
and some things I haven't even told you guys about. But you know, to go from living this what I thought was really cool, really really enjoyable life to now it changed completely,
Yeah.
literally completely, um, due to one accident. And that man, I can't even put that into words, and I would never want it to happen to anybody else. Um, but it's a whole like literally just like turning your life upside down. And that's
Yeah.
like the best way I could describe it.
Wow.
And now you got to figure it out. Figure out how to. So if you got a jar turned upside down, now figure out how to put that money back in there. That was the coins that were in there. Try to put it back in there while the jar's still upside down. I want you to
In-
figure it out.
Interesting.
like that's how I feel. I'm trying to figure it out, man.
Yeah. Um, wow. That's an interesting way of putting it. That
Mm-hmm.
jar analogy, that
Yeah.
metaphor, and wow. I have your website open because I know we don't have much time left because we're pressed for time here today. But there's a couple things I just kind of want to let the listeners know because there's so much great information you have. I mean, you are a motivational speaker. You have a really great website, which I'm going to share on the YouTube channel. And so it's just a matter of clicking on it. And you went on to write a book called "Don't Focus on Why Me."
Yeah.
Can you provide an oversight of that? Provide a description so our listeners can get access to more information about you and connect with you and to learn more about you because I can only imagine what we can learn from you based off your life lessons and how you adapted and how you adjusted and dealt with that upside down jar and
Yeah.
how you manage it, how you're managing that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like you mentioned, my website. You can definitely go to my website, amymotivation.com. That's AMEY motivation.com. You can book me as a speaker for any event, whether it's a convention, conference, gala, whatever you might be having for and need a keynote speaker. And then the book, Don't Focus on Why Me, From Motorcycle Accident to Miracle. You can find that link on there on the website as well. But you can also go and search the title on Amazon, Kindle, Audible, and Apple Books. And there are audio versions out there as well for those who like to listen to books. But that book is really talking all about the accident, what I had to go through, how I bounced back, and the recovery, all of that stuff, the depression, everything, man. And so,
Yeah.
if you want to know more about what I had to deal with at that time, you definitely want to read that book. So that's a huge part of it. And you can feel free to follow me on social media at Kijuan Amey. And I have Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. And all of them, you just search Kijuan Amey and you can find me.
That's I want to read the mission statement
Yeah.
from your website, because it's important, because I've read it a few times, and I think it'll really just provide some really important context. So on your website, your mission statement is to impact as well as empower the hearts and minds of those who feel less than they once were through invigorating and inspirational speeches, to show people they still can, even when they think they can't. If you take doubt out, you will succeed.
Yeah.
I'm going to refer to that off. That's pretty, because it really speaks to, going back to what you said about, is it the pilot, is it the aircraft? I'm going to use that analogy. It's like, is it the podcast? Is it the person? Is it who we are as individuals, right? How we found each other, any number of variables that go into it, right? But what I will say is this, is when we did find each other and I heard your story, I was incredibly humble and welcoming of your story to learn more about you, because at some point you acknowledge something post accident, right? You acknowledge at some point, and I imagine your book captures that. And I'm going to get, whether it's the Audible version and all that, because I'm going to get more, and I'm going to share more on the Acknowledge Action YouTube channel. But we all find ways to acknowledge something, whether it's forced upon us or we make a decision to do it, to take the action that we see fit, that leads to a renewed sense of who we are, to figure out our circumstances. Because, the last thing I'll say on your website is you describe yourself as a wounded warrior, a man of God, and a man of passion. And just from the little bit we've talked through pre-recording to now, yes, that speaks, right? And I know that there are other people that they may not have the same exact circumstances as what you went through, but they could find value in that to help them deal with whatever it may be. And so I just want to share that, state that, and share that, because wherever we're at, we never know where we could draw inspiration from, value from, and sources of inspiration, guidance, whatever we need to call it, right? So I just wanted to say that, to just kind of put it out there.
Yeah.
What message do you have for our listeners? I know we shared some cool Air Force stories. You briefly skimmed the surface on what happened to you, but the takeaway from that is, here you are, and you went on to accomplish. You were writing a book, become a motivational speaker, and being a man of inspiration, right?
Yeah.
What message can you leave with our listeners, wherever they're at, for a source of inspiration, motivation, and a source for them?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, from listening to me today, if I haven't shown you that you should never give up in life, that's the first thing I'll tell you, is don't give up. And lastly, I'll say, when you find your purpose, that's what really pushes you forward. It propels you forward in this thing that we call life, and it'll make it easier for you. So go out here and try to find your purpose if you have not.
If somebody is stuck in finding their purpose, what guidance and what bit of advice can you give them in the moment to help them? I mean, because that's so important. Don't give up, and that's a critical part. What else can you add to that to say, hey, if you're stuck or you're not real sure, what advice can you give them to help them with that process?
Well, see, my guidance came from God, because I'm a faith believer. So whatever your belief system is, that's how I found mine. I asked him to show it to me.
Okay.
So that was where it came from. That was where my source came from.
Okay.
So that's the only way I can, give you the answer, because I always speak from experience. I don't want to fabricate anything.
Yeah.
So that's how I found mine.
How I hear that is to allow yourself to be vulnerable and allow yourself to submit to a source like, hey, I need help. I can't do this on my own. And we need that collaborative. So whether it's a spirit, I've talked about this a few times in most of the podcasts, is our post-military MEPS. And that's focusing on the mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, and social aspects. We could talk about pre-military MEPS where we take the test and what you qualify for, but post-military MEPS is a game changer. We need to be aware of all those components in our lives, wherever we're at with it. Sometimes it's a little more mental, sometimes it's more spiritual, sometimes it's more social, but it's all those components are important. And I believe I know that your experience speaks to that in your book. So I want to thank you for trusting me, the acknowledge to action. And like I said, we could go on and on. We could go on for hours to talk about stuff, but we just skimmed the surface and gave an opportunity to just get the ball rolling and for follow-up. And we'd love to have you back on when what we do, like a coordinated, I'm kind of like a all call sort of veterans collaboration. So I know that there's going to be more for our relationship and to share this information. So
yeah, we could definitely find some time to do this again.
Kijuan, thank you so much. I appreciate you. I really do appreciate you sharing your story a little bit. I'm going to have all this information on the YouTube Acknowledge to Action channel, along with LinkedIn and the other social media sources. So.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
All right, you take care, and I'm looking forward to staying in contact with you.
Sounds good. Appreciate you.
Okay.
And that wraps up another powerful episode of the Acknowledge to Action podcast. A huge thank you to Kijuan Amey for sharing not only his military journey, but also his unwavering spirit in the face of life's most difficult challenges. His story is a reminder that resilience isn't just about bouncing back. It's about finding new purpose, even when life takes an unexpected turn. From boom operator to motivational speaker and author, Kijuan's path is a testament to the strength that lies in faith, perseverance, and choosing not to give up, no matter the odds. If you were moved by today's conversation, I encourage you to check out Kijuan's book, Don't Focus on Why Me, From Motorcycle Accident to Miracle. It's a powerful read that dives even deeper into his journey and will absolutely inspire anyone navigating adversity. Thanks for tuning in to the Acknowledge to Action podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and stay connected. No matter where you are, keep showing up, keep rising, and never stop believing in what's possible. Until next time, stay strong, stay focused, and keep driving forward with purpose. This is Acknowledge to Action.